With just 7 vitamins, we've helped seniors after 60 stop leg cramps and walk stronger. And today, we'll show you how. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast, where East meets West to reveal the daily rituals that protect your memory, mobility, and strength after 60. I'm Dr. Grant, and today I'm joined by Japan's oldest practicing physician, Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara. He's treated tens of thousands of patients over a century of living, and at over 100 years old, he's still walking, still teaching, and still helping others stand tall. He knows that leg strength isn't just about muscles. It's about avoiding falls, keeping circulation healthy, reducing pain, and preserving your ability to live fully. And no one is better equipped to guide us through this than the man who's helped generations reclaim their balance, naturally, without shortcuts or guesswork. Dr. Hinohara, it's a privilege to have you back.
Thank you, John. It's always a joy to sit with you, and an even greater one to speak on something so critical. Leg strength is often the first thing we notice slipping as we age, yet it's rarely addressed with the urgency it deserves. I've seen how a simple deficiency in one nutrient can mean the difference between walking independently and needing support. But I've also seen how quickly things can change when the right elements are restored. In today's conversation, we'll look at 7 specific vitamins and minerals, the ones I've used in Japan to help seniors reduce cramps, restore balance, and even reverse weakness in their legs. Some are familiar, others you may not expect, but all of them play a unique role in how you stand, move, and recover, and by the end, you'll know exactly where to begin.
So are you saying these nutrients are more powerful than most treatments people are offered?
In many cases, yes, because most treatments focus on symptoms, the cramps, the pain, the stiffness, but nutrition addresses the root. The silent deficiencies that weaken tissue, confuse nerve signals, or slow blood flow, and once we identify those, the body often does the rest.
Doctor, we hear from a lot of people that they want us to get more straight to the point, so let's try that episode. We really appreciate it when our listeners come with feedback. You can let us know in the comments what you want to see differently.
Indeed, John, we love talking. But now we'll break this episode down, vitamin by vitamin, 7 in total, each one critical to leg strength, mobility, and balance. No fluff, no guessing, just exactly what your body needs, how to get it, and what happens when it's missing. From restoring nerve function to preventing falls.
Let's make every segment count.
Every segment brings you something you can act on today. And if you stay with us till the end, I'll share the one nutrient Japanese elders call the miracle mineral, because of how fast it's helped my patients reverse leg pain and weakness.
That hits home for me. A few months ago, one of my longtime patients, a woman in her early 70s, came in nearly in tears because her legs had started shaking every time she stood up. She thought it was just aging, but all we changed was 1 vitamin, and within 2 weeks, she was steady again. So let's not waste time. What's the first vitamin seniors should be thinking about when it comes to leg strength?
Vitamin D, always. Because without it, the rest can't function as they should. It is the foundation because it doesn't just strengthen bones. It activates the fast-twitch muscle fibers that keep your legs responsive and balanced. Without it, reaction time slows, muscles weaken, and the risk of falling rises sharply. I've seen elderly patients go from unsteady and exhausted to energetic walkers simply by correcting this one deficiency. But the problem is, many seniors get far too little, especially in winter, or if they avoid the sun. And what's worse, they don't know they're deficient until their legs already begin to suffer.
So many people assume they're getting enough, just from casual time outside. But as we age, our skin becomes less efficient at converting sunlight into usable vitamin D. Add to that sunscreen, mobility issues, or medications, and the gap widens quickly.
Exactly. And diet rarely makes up the difference, since only a few foods, like salmon, sardines, and fortified dairy, contain meaningful amounts. That's why in Japan, we regularly screen older adults and recommend supplements when necessary. The difference in strength and stability is often noticeable in just weeks, but it's important to balance it correctly because vitamin D also needs magnesium to activate and K2 to direct calcium to the bones instead of arteries. So one vitamin connects to others, like a conversation inside your cells.
I'm glad you said that, because people often treat these nutrients like isolated pills, but they're all talking to each other behind the scenes.
Yes, and when that conversation breaks down, your body struggles to move.
Most seniors I see are shocked at how one small change can unlock a whole chain of improvement. It's not just that their legs feel stronger, they feel steadier, more awake, more themselves. It reminds me of a patient who stopped needing her walker after just a month of addressing her D and magnesium levels. But let's keep going. What's the second vitamin people often overlook that might be hurting their legs?
Vitamin K2 is one of the most misunderstood, yet most vital nutrients for leg strength. And yes, I've noticed the growing interest in it too. While vitamin D tells the body to absorb calcium, K2 is what tells it where to go. Without enough K2, that calcium can end up in the arteries instead of the bones, stiffening joints, damaging circulation, and even raising the risk of heart issues. But with K2, the calcium is directed into the skeletal structure, fortifying legs from within. In Japan, we have used fermented soybeans, natto, for centuries, which are incredibly rich in K2. We now understand that this isn't just cultural tradition. It's powerful science.
That's fascinating. So this vitamin acts like a traffic cop, keeping calcium out of the wrong places and into the bones.
Exactly. And in aging legs, that difference can be felt. When K2 is lacking, joints often feel tighter, movement stiffer, and recovery slower, even if the person is getting plenty of calcium. But when we correct it, the effects show up in flexibility, posture, and the ease of walking. It's not always dramatic overnight, but the long-term shift is unmistakable.
That subtle stiffness, that creeping tightness people start accepting as normal aging, could actually be a sign of K2 deficiency.
Yes, and if left unaddressed, it silently reduces quality of life.
Most of the patients who improved didn't even know what K2 was until we tested or explained it. And yet, it was a game changer. That's why it's so important we go through these nutrients one by one. So next up, what's a vitamin that directly affects the nerves? And why should seniors care about that when it comes to leg strength?
That next vitamin is B12, and in my opinion, it's one of the most urgent to correct after 60. While many people focus on bones or muscles, they forget that every movement starts with a nerve signal. B12 helps protect the myelin sheath, the insulation that lets nerve messages travel smoothly to the legs. Without it, people feel tingling, heaviness, or numbness, and eventually lose coordination. I've treated seniors who thought they had arthritis or poor circulation, when in fact it was a simple B12 deficiency causing their legs to feel disconnected from their body. This can happen quietly over years, especially in people with poor digestion or those on acid-blocking medications. And yet, when levels are restored, the changes can be both fast and profound.
That's critical, because when nerves misfire, it's not just discomfort. It's a loss of confidence in the body, and that fear of falling starts creeping in.
Yes, and fear alone causes people to move less, which makes muscles shrink and joints stiffen even faster. That's why treating B12 deficiency is not just about biology, but also psychology. It gives people the confidence to move freely again.
So would you say low B12 is a hidden risk factor for falls?
Absolutely. And sadly, it's often missed.
It's amazing to think that something so simple, something you can test for with a basic blood panel, could be behind years of decline. I've seen this play out in my own practice. A woman in her early 70s, active all her life, started stumbling and withdrawing. It wasn't her legs giving up. It was her nerves going quiet. Once we addressed her B12, she began moving with ease again. Let's stay with this theme of circulation and nerve signaling, because there's one more mineral that helps with both, but is missing in nearly every senior diet.
That mineral is magnesium, and I often call it the body's quiet conductor. It doesn't make headlines, but it orchestrates more than 300 essential processes, including those that help our muscles contract, relax, and recover. When levels drop, we see leg cramps, spasms, and that frustrating sensation, like your legs just won't respond.
That's what so many people describe, a kind of dead weight or even buzzing in the calves.
Magnesium works hand in hand with calcium and potassium, forming the trio that keeps your muscles moving smoothly, especially at night, when many people report sudden cramps or restlessness. But its benefits go further. It helps blood vessels stay open and relaxed, improving circulation, and it ensures calcium gets into the bones, not the joints or arteries. I've had patients who couldn't make it up the stairs or sleep through the night, and within weeks of adding magnesium-rich foods or a small supplement, their symptoms eased. And what I love most is that it often brings relief without side effects. Just steadier steps, deeper sleep, and calmer nights.
That makes so much sense. I've had patients tell me they're waking up every night with cramps or heaviness, and magnesium is one of the first things I ask about. Because when your legs are tense and unpredictable, it's hard to feel at ease in your own body.
Exactly, John. The body speaks in sensations, and when we learn to listen, healing becomes far more precise. Magnesium is not just about preventing discomfort, it restores rhythm and coordination across your entire system. That's why when it's low, people feel not just weaker, but more disoriented. Even balance is affected because the nerves and muscles aren't communicating clearly. And that's a danger no senior can afford to ignore, especially at night, when falls are most common. Replenishing magnesium isn't about chasing youth. It's about preserving control.
I'm really glad we spent time on this one, because I think many people underestimate just how foundational it is.
Yes, and it bridges us beautifully into the next nutrient, because when magnesium calms the system, this next vitamin energizes it, helping muscles respond, react, and rebuild when it matters most.
So, what is the next one, doctor?
That next vitamin is B6, and it often slips under the radar, but it's essential, especially after 60, because it supports two systems we depend on most, the nervous system and the muscles. It helps your body convert protein into usable fuel, which becomes more important as muscle mass naturally declines. Without enough B6, even a good diet or regular exercise won't translate into strength. It also regulates inflammation. So if your legs feel stiff, heavy, or slow to recover after activity, B6 may be the missing piece. I've worked with patients who struggled with fatigue in their lower limbs despite walking daily, and it wasn't until we restored B6 levels that they started to feel real stamina again. This isn't about megadoses or magic pills. It's about tuning the body's natural engine so it performs the way it's meant to.
B6 is one I don't hear much about, even among other doctors. But when I do test for it, I often find it's low. And the signs, fatigue, poor recovery, even fogginess, make a lot more sense in hindsight.
Exactly. People assume those symptoms are just aging, but they're really signals. B6 also supports red blood cell production, which means it helps carry oxygen to the legs. Without that, no matter how strong the muscles are, they'll feel drained too soon.
That explains why some seniors feel like their legs just quit halfway through a walk.
Yes, because they're running on fumes, not fuel. Restore the right levels, and it's like switching on a backup generator.
That's a powerful image. I'm thinking of a patient who couldn't make it up her driveway without needing to rest. We adjusted her B6 and protein intake, and 3 weeks later she was doing 2 laps around the block. It's those kinds of stories that remind us strength isn't always lost. Sometimes it's just been silenced. And that brings us to a vitamin, doctor. Go ahead.
That vitamin is potassium, and it's one of the most overlooked allies in maintaining leg strength, especially for seniors. Most people associate it with bananas, but its real power lies in how it manages the delicate electrical activity between nerves and muscles. Potassium helps ensure every step is smooth and responsive by maintaining proper fluid balance in and around muscle cells. When it's low, you might feel tremors, cramping, or that stiff, wooden feeling in your legs after standing.
That's something I hear constantly. People describing their legs like they're heavy or frozen in place.
I've seen patients who thought they had circulation problems, when the real issue was simply depleted potassium from medications or poor diet. It also works closely with magnesium and sodium to keep the body's internal rhythm steady, which is especially important for heart and muscle coordination. Correcting potassium is not about flooding the body with supplements. It's about bringing things into balance so the legs can work as designed.
I'm glad you mentioned medications, because diuretics, which many seniors take, are notorious for flushing potassium out. That's a conversation I have weekly in my clinic. And sometimes all it takes is a few dietary tweaks. Sweet potatoes, beans, avocados, and the results are noticeable.
Exactly. It's one of those quiet corrections that can make movement feel natural again, like your legs belong to you. It's especially important in preventing sudden muscle weakness during activity. And the good news is, food-based sources tend to be well tolerated, especially when eaten with some healthy fats.
A lot of people think weakness means you need more protein, but sometimes it's really about how your muscles fire and relax.
Right, protein builds the material, but minerals like potassium make it work. Without that charge, the engine stalls.
And I've seen how quickly seniors lose confidence when their legs become unpredictable. It's not just about walking, it's about whether they feel safe getting out of a chair, walking across the street, or navigating stairs. When those basic movements feel risky, life starts shrinking. But that leads perfectly into our final nutrient today, the one you call Japan's miracle mineral.
That mineral is calcium, but not the kind most people are taking. Because when I say calcium, I don't mean chalky pills or fortified juices. I mean bioavailable, food-based calcium, the kind your body can actually use. Most seniors take calcium incorrectly, and it ends up where it shouldn't, in the arteries, the joints, or the kidneys. But real calcium, balanced with magnesium, D, and K2, becomes a stabilizing force in the legs. It builds bone, yes, but more importantly, it supports the muscles that surround the bone. I've seen patients go from frail and fearful to confident and mobile again, not because they added more calcium, but because they added the right kind. In Japan, we get it from small fish eaten whole, bones and all, or from soft tofu made with calcium salts, which absorb easily and don't clog the system.
That's something I've never heard described that clearly, because most advice around calcium is so generic. Take a pill, drink milk. But what you're saying is, form matters more than quantity, and it must be in harmony with other nutrients.
Exactly, John. And this harmony is what makes it miraculous, because it doesn't act alone. It responds to what's already present. If magnesium is missing, it stiffens. If K2 is low, it strays. But when aligned, it becomes the quiet backbone of mobility. I once treated a man, 80 years old, whose bones were technically strong, but his balance was deteriorating. What he lacked was the subtle tension in the tendons, the spring in the muscles, all supported by real calcium in daily meals. When we added small dried sardines, soft greens, and a fermented tofu dish to his morning routine, the difference in just 2 weeks was visible, not just in gait, but in mood.
That's the second time you've mentioned tofu today. I'm starting to see a pattern.
It's gentle, complete, and deeply restorative, especially for aging bodies. In Japan, we don't see it as a substitute. We see it as a base, a mineral-rich canvas the body can build on.
We started this episode with a promise that 7 vitamins could transform leg strength, and I think we've delivered, because this isn't a theory. It's not about fads or fear. It's about restoring the conversation within the body, the signals between nerves, blood, and muscle that keep us grounded in motion. And with DK2, B12, magnesium, B6, potassium, and food-based calcium, we've handed people a new script for strength, one grounded in biology, in tradition, and most of all, in hope.